Today, we have with us the most loving and amazing Mia Saenz. Mia is a love activist and the creator of Women Making Miracles. She stands for love and supports you to do the same. Mia helps those who feel alone and yet dream of love to make love real in their lives so they can then go out and seed love into the world. Oh, I love it. This powerful work is through spiritual and interpersonal development work we call self-love. Mia has taught the Love Mastery program for 15 years. Love Master is for individuals, one-on-one, VIP coaching, groups, and coach certification programs. Welcome, Mia. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here with you, Natalia.
That's awesome. So let's get really deep, really fast. So I know you really enjoy talking about love, about self-love, and about how accepting ourselves, loving ourselves could be the gateway to creating loving relationships outside of us. Would you mind talking a little bit more about that?
Sure. Throughout time, as we begin to think about our life, I remember when I was younger and thought, wow, what is it like to feel love in my body? What does it feel like to be loved? And I've been on a path of this discovery my whole life. My early childhood was very abusive at home and still very loving. So it was really confusing. My mother was mentally ill. And out in the outside world, I was fine. Well, I was not fine in the sense that I had repressed feelings about myself, but I was confident. I was a cheerleader. I sang in a rock band, but I wasn't really, I don't want to say good enough. I wanted to be seen, but I didn't want to be seen. So there's an inner shyness that a lot of us have in our, a lot of us say that we're in, what is that? Not introspective. It is introspective, but it's,
Introverted, maybe?
thank you, introverted. And that's due to a shyness or to trauma, to a lot of things. And being an extrovert is also due to the makeup of the human and then also going forward. So what is it like to love ourselves enough? I always had boyfriends, I always had everything, but within myself, I would ask myself questions and I didn't have the answer. So it set me on a journey of who I was and how deep could I love, and all these questions that are really important that we don't think about for ourselves. We go about our business and our life and we pick up people in our lives as they come along and we add them in. But what if you created yourself not from how your parents or your society or your upbringing created you, but what if you went in and reparented yourself to the point that you could change the way you communicate with others and yourself, the way you feel about fear and trauma, the triggers that you may have? What if none of them existed anymore? That you got to the other side. Yeah. And so that's the beauty of, or learning how to get to the other side. That's the beauty of understanding yourself. Did you want to ask something?
Well, I was just thinking, did you get an answer to that question? How it could be?
Yes, it took a while. And that's one of the reasons that I teach accelerated programs where we ask ourselves questions, where we dig in, where we pull out the information. What it does is it teaches us how to listen. When we're still, we get rid of that monkey mind, all the things that are going on, the energies, the voices, the talking, the non-stillness. So people who have had trauma can't be still. I could not go into my house without turning on the TV just for sound. Some people turn on the radio. Some people listen to music. Now, I think music is extremely important, but done in the right way, not to hide from yourself, but to elevate or elate yourself with sounds and beauty. So it's different when we approach it from the way the world has created us to being able to recreate ourselves in every aspect. So this is self-love on a journey, but really to get there, it's self-devotion. So what we teach in the academy is the self-love and the self-devotion and the emotional intelligence. So when you raise your emotional awareness and you're not triggered and you recognize, say somebody comes up and says something really rude or offhanded, your
Mm,
response, instead of kicking him in the teeth, let's just call it how it is, instead of coming back at them, you would probably say to yourself, wow, that person's really injured. I
right,
feel sorry for them. Instead of wanting to beat them up, you'd be like, wow, you'd have compassion
right,
because you've done your work to see that that type of environment or that type of energy doesn't belong with you. And for the most part, what's going to happen is everything's going to change. People are going to start to treat you differently. Why? Because you are representing yourself differently. The people that used to come into my life years ago don't come into my life anymore. It's almost like there's an invisible boundary that they don't come up and say garbage to me because I wouldn't play back. I wouldn't play volleyball back with them. It would be cut and eliminated. I've just noticed a huge change in who I am over the last many years. I've been studying self-love for 36 years. So that's a long, long time. I've been teaching it for 15 because I love it and I adore it. And I believe humanity needs to understand that they are so valuable on
right,
an individual level that you can take your life into any space that you want.
right.
So ask me about those things because otherwise people are going to be like, that sounds really off. Like, how could that actually be? Or how could that actually
Well,
happen?
I'll tell you what's coming up for me. I mean, you shared a lot, so I'm just share a little bit what came up for me. So pretty much that when our way of being, it's about taking everything personal, like as you gave that example of somebody being rude and
Mhm.
taking it making it about ourselves, so we get angry because we take it personal, and we just we try to get back to them. That cheat us, just that prevent us from learning the skills and the abilities to, for example, place a boundary.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, on the other way, when we are compassionate, when we develop compassion and understanding, and there is an understanding that what the person is doing doesn't have anything to do with who we are, it's an expression of who they are. That's when we open up ourselves to curiosity and to learning
Mhm.
how to place a boundary, because it's not about somebody being rude and saying, oh, I wonder what the trauma is, or it's showing me that that person is injured, that has a trauma, and taking it. I don't believe in that. I believe in having standards and placing boundaries in a loving and nurturing and assertive way. So that's what's coming up for me, that when we take things personally, we are preventing ourselves from growing. We remain stuck. But when we take the approach you are saying, that is compassion, understanding, empathy, kindness, it's not only good for them, it's good for us as well, because we are opening up ourselves to learn a new way of being. And that's why probably you have like this field. You're like Wonder Woman with a field, like no negative energy can get you. It's because, not so much because they don't try, it's just because you created a way of being, that you have your standards and they're very healthy, and you have your boundaries that, even if somebody tries, they will bounce.
Yeah. And it's not to say that people haven't been aggressive with me
Right,
or I was just now thinking as you were talking. So it's a development of who I am to
right.
be able to respond, right, to someone else.
Yes.
And so I couldn't say to myself, hurt people, unless I understood it to a degree. It would be wrong for me to say, oh, just repeat to yourself, they're injured and that's why they're coming after you. That's not right. It's because you've got to have all the steps to learn to be able to view everything, to move through it. I was just, when you were talking, I was thinking about some man about a year and a half ago. I was at the gas station. My car, I live in Miami, and I also live on a little island
Love
off of
my
Seattle. Yeah. And I also live on an island off of Seattle. So in the ocean, it's really beautiful.
nice.
So I had my car, went in to go give money to the gas, so that I could pump gas. And some van backed up and hit my car
Mm.
and then moved it. And then the people at the gas station said, hey, you hit your car. So I go out there and I said, hey, you hit my car. And this man got in my face, right? So what do you do when somebody's yelling and screaming? So what I'm saying is, it's not that I'm free of anything, right? So what I did was I just called 911 to take care of it. Not a
Right.
big deal. I wasn't going to go crazy on him. So it is a self-reflection, right? People do still interfere with us. So we're kind of like individual universes. My life is a bubble. Your life is a bubble. Sometimes our bubbles come together and we communicate. But for the most part, we want to keep the negative bubbles away from us, right? We want the bright, shiny bubbles.
Right.
It's really about an interior look at who you want to be.
Mm.
Um, I like to say, and here's a little tip for a tool, would be start to journal or write down the people that you admire the most. Put their names down. Could be historical, could be in your family. Then from there, break that down. What are the qualities that you really like about those people, that you admire, that you might be able to exemplify one day or bring into your life? So then take those qualities that you like and put them on a completely different sheet of paper. Now
Right.
that's where you're starting to work from who you want to be, and taking an actual step, knowing, who am I, and what do I want out of this life? We have so many people that wait until their 40s and 50s to finally ask these questions,
Mm.
that the younger you are, the better. I have girlfriends, obviously, I'm not in my 20s, and I have girlfriends who are in their 20s. Why? Because they've done the work themselves before I even met them. And it's great, it's nice to be able to communicate with well-balanced people. It
Yeah.
sounds funny to explain it like that, but it's true.
Right. Yes. And it's, I loved what you said, that it all starts with us. We have to
Mhm.
have that understanding for ourselves. Otherwise, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah. It's,
Most people aren't allowed growing up to say what they really want or what they really want to feel. So what we're doing is we're implementing new patterns, new behaviors. This is an actual scientific neurobiological thing that happens in our brain when we decide we want something new and take the first step into that. It's not like you see a journey that's 1,000 miles and you're freaked out that you have to take it. You take one step at a time, and as you take that, you start implementing all the things that you want for yourself. But until you know what you want, you don't know what you want. So I like to say, when you don't know what you want, or when you don't know what it is, you're not going to understand until you know it. And so that makes sense. It's just about moving through who we are. And that really produces a really beautiful individual relationship. I'm sure all of you have heard at one time or another, oh, you can be your own best friend. I used to think that that was crazy talk. I was like, what is that? You're insane, right? But you do get to a point that the relationship or the openness or the love that you create in yourself is really beautiful.
right.
And you do have sustainability with yourself because you learn how to be safe and trusting with yourself. And these are things that maybe some people just starting out on developing themselves or into self-love may not understand yet. But it's a beautiful path to take because it really just leads you back to your own center or your soul, or however you want to look at that.
Right. Yes. Yes. We definitely, that's such an American thing to say, become your best friend. before until I moved
Isn't
here.
it a funny, it's really a funny thing to hear, right? To
Amazing.
become your own best friend.
Yeah.
But then when you start to do the work, you're like, wow, I can feel that love inside like I never felt before. So earlier you asked me, well, what kind of answers did you get when you asked yourself these questions?
Yes.
I was blank and I knew I was blank. And I didn't like that feeling of not knowing anything about myself. And why that happened is I was focused, just like every other human, especially women, on other people taking care of them, because
Mhm.
that's how we're raised in our world, in all world. I don't care if you're raised in South America or North America. You have a family, and that family comes first, and those needs come first. That's what you're trained, and that's what you're taught. So as you open up to taking care of yourself first,
Yes.
it's not about arrogance. It's not about selfishness. It's about being able to have more energy and capacity
Right.
to support others too. So if capacity was dollars and you every day you woke up with $3 and you wanted to be at $5 capacity energy wise, you'd have to do something to produce that in yourself. A lot of times we feel journaling's good,
I love journaling.
um, or meditating, or yoga, or the mirror work, or the inner child work, or whatever it is that you want to do. Get a routine going in the morning that supports you throughout the day.
Yeah, yeah. And it could be anything. I have been, again, my journey is also a long one. I started when I was 14, so, and I'm
Mhm.
almost 50. And, so it has been a lot of growth and trying different things. And I remember when I was in my late 20s, I really, really, really wanted to meditate, and I couldn't. I couldn't sit still and all that. And, that got me on a journey of a lot of following different people, trying different ways, and reading a ton of books on meditation, practicing yoga every day, blah, blah, blah. And finally, one day, I realized that to me, meditating, it happens when I am running out in nature, when I am
Yes, it does.
mountain, by myself. That's when I meditate. And but it was hard for me to let go of the concept of meditating, and gazing at a candle flame, or
Right, right,
chanting or counting beads. It
right.
was hard for me to accept who I was, but once I did, it's beautiful, because that's something that I can do. That's something that comes effortless to me, going running up in a mountain every day. I love
Yeah.
doing that. So
So everyone operates differently, right? So looking at a candle, listening to the music, watching lights, just being still, closing your eyes, laying down to guided meditation, whatever.
yeah,
It's different for everyone. So the fastest way into yourself is exactly what you're doing. Running, so walking doesn't have to be running, but
yeah,
that's where we're focused on the present moment. So when you're physically in motion and you're creating a stillness in your mind, you are meditating in a powerful way. Now, what if you added in mantras or thoughts or creating a project while you're doing that? You're having this beautiful, still focus on what you're doing and not being disturbed. It's my favorite way to do it myself. I also do it other ways, but it's one way that, or the most powerful way that I've been teaching for the last 5 years, specifically on the focused meditation. That's what I call it. And
mhm,
that's really beautiful. You have to have the exercise going, because otherwise humans try to get all the thoughts going in and out and all the distractions, right? So the walking keeps you in the present moment, and using those thoughts to, whether you're bringing in spiritual awareness or whether you're like, oh, I have, like you, oh, I have a new show. I want to think about how to create that. You
mhm.
can do it really well in that framework of that focused meditation, running, walking, riding your bike.
Right.
It's
That's
beautiful.
beautiful. Yeah, it's a more direct. The body is it's a very, very good pathway to finding our own center. So when
Exactly.
moving it makes us be in touch with our body right away.
Yeah.
I post on Instagram. Sometimes I don't do it every day because I'm so annoying. But Tony Robbins said something that move a muscle to move a mood, and I love that because I'm so into moving the body. I just love it. So I usually do hashtag move a muscle to move a mood, and sometimes it just takes that to take that little step of moving a
Exactly.
little bit,
Yeah.
and it puts us in a beautiful state. And if
Like dancing,
Mhm.
like dancing 5 minutes before you go on air to give a talk.
Yes.
For someone like you or I, it really changes that energy of, like, if you're dreading it, oh, am I going to remember everything? And your energy goes low. Just turn on your favorite music and just dance it out.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you dance to rock and roll?
I I do. I do. I also dance. I dance to a lot of stuff. I dance to I dance to a lot of indie music, and mixed culture music, so like African hip hop and things like that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I love music. I also find that we can imprint our body with music that's really beautiful. When I say beautiful, I'm not talking about an orchestra. I'm talking about something that moves you, something that makes you feel beautiful or sexy. And so it's really on a self-love or feminine way. It's important to know your genre of music that you like to listen to and then pull it up when you need to change your energy. There is one imprinting program that I teach for specifically confidence. And
Mm,
what it is as you're doing it, um, you are imprinting that sound into you. It's like the deepest resonating sound that you have. It could be anything. It could be drums. It could be primal, depending on what stirs you. And you hear that music when you're off out of alignment or off kilter, when you're out with people and you're starting to feel very much like, I just want to get out of here and I want to run. To bring back your confidence, you just replay that in your head and you
mm,
bring it out. And it's just, but you also have to practice, like practice with your shoulders back and raising your head and feeling the top that you can feel before you get in those situations so that it's easy to pull it up and to be that. So we are recreating ourselves from the ground up. That's what I've done. I've recreated everything about me. Yes, I'm still me, which is good, but now I get to add the good parts and then level out the parts that weren't so good or that I didn't like as much to being the woman that I actually want to be. I was thinking about this the other day that I talk very sweet and kind to people just because that gives me great joy. And then I realized I did not even know that I was kinder to others before I was kind to myself. So I
mm.
was thinking about that recently in another interview, and wow, it's really true. We are kinder to others than we are to ourselves. Yes, that's the basis of self-love and all that. But to actually identify it for our own self in our own life, it's crazy. It'll blow your mind. It's like, wow, I really did put people before me. And I'll just share really quick. You and I were talking before, and um, during a cancer journey that I was on, I had to discover that I loved myself so much. One of the missing pieces why it kept returning was I realized that I was still giving to others over myself after all these years of
Wow.
change and shifts. And so I actually said, I am not dying for anyone. I'm
Mm.
not dying for anyone. I'm going to live and live this life the best way I can. And it was a huge change. That meant
So how
people,
that changed practically in your daily life? Did it change you in any way, like very practical in your daily life, or it was
yeah,
more?
well, I've noticed a year and a half later because I had to really cut my life. Well, 2 years later, I cut out when cancer came back the second time. I was dating at the time. My husband and I weren't together. We were separated, and I was dating, and I cut all that down. I turned it off. I was like, no more dating, no more. I had been in a relationship where I really loved the person. It was very past life. It was very much he was here to help me with cancer. And I had to let that go. Not the person, but the relationship. He's still one of my best friends today. But I had to let that love like relationship go and change it back into a friend relationship because I was being consumed and swallowed up. And
Mm.
so, in that respect, I can see today I'm a different person, totally different, because I don't put people before me like I did. It's an interesting evolvement, and it was about dang time. It's like I've been on this journey a long time, and it took me forever.
So
But
hard. It's
but
so
we all learn at different paces.
yeah, it's hard. It's very hard to
Can I share with you one of my most precious self-love tools? And
yeah,
that is, we have to be gentle with ourselves in our communication.
yeah.
We automatically tell ourselves off 17 times in the first 2 hours of waking until we learn not to. But even the way we talk to ourselves with, oh, how we'd say, oh, that's stupid of you, or that's not right. We're so mean. We need to be gentle. If we do something that we don't like, it's okay. The gentleness allows the awareness and the calmness. So we're smoothing down our nervous system. And we do teach nervous system work too. Nervous system work is very important for people to learn. But it's about being gentle with yourself. And then when you're gentle with yourself, guess what happens next? That sense of love starts to sneak up on you.
Oh,
And when you begin to feel it and you hear something inside you say, I love you, you might freak out. I did the first one. I was like, okay, where did that come from? It was really weird, but it's also very cool. And that's why, in thinking about that whole best friend thing, right? That was such a jargon talk, just such a statement. Like, how can that even be possible? It can actually be possible. Now, it doesn't mean we don't need friends. Doesn't mean we don't need companions. My husband and I are back together for over a year. More
good.
beautiful.
I'm happy about that. Yeah, it's
Thank
not
you.
a either or,
More beautiful than ever because
Oh,
I
I'm
needed to
happy
change. Yeah, I needed to change myself. I
for
was intolerant of a lot
that.
of things. I didn't even realize that. And I thought, if I can be tolerant to others, I can be tolerant to the man that I love so
Right,
much. And
right.
everything changed. I wasn't my mother anymore, and I still was being like her all these years later. So we have to just take it slowly and be appreciative of every shift that we have.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's such a good way to wrap it up. That you came back to a relationship with your husband. I love it. I love it, and that you're happy in it.
Very happy.
Relationships will trigger us, will teach us the deepest lessons. That's
Yeah,
it. That's it.
yeah.
People are like, oh, I need to do the work on myself first. No, you need to do the work while you are in a relationship or while you are dating. Otherwise, it's like being in a sterile environment where you are never triggered. It's in the field where we are tested, I think.
True. But I do want to say some people do need to honor themselves and take time for themselves. If
Yeah.
they feel they need that space, absolutely take 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, but don't keep yourself from humanity, friends, or love relationships because you're absolutely worth having it. But do give yourself time that you can show yourself that individual love that maybe you never have before.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I'm thinking more of women that have been single for years, you know.
Right, right, yeah. And using it as an excuse, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no. I when I got divorced from my first husband, I took a year that I didn't go on dates, I didn't see any men, nothing. It was just, girlfriends and family and just getting to rebuild myself, to
Yeah.
recreate myself, to see who I was, what I wanted. I
Mhm.
had no idea. I just
Right,
let go of myself completely.
right.
So yeah, for sure. I do encourage that. I was talking about
Yeah,
You know,
I saw.
the case that I see the most,
Mhm.
it's the women that have been single for years, and they are thinking about getting ready to get ready, you know.
Right. It's like, get going already.
The future happened 3 years ago
Yeah,
already.
exactly.
Anyway, so I know, Mia, you have a gift for our viewers, and I would like you to talk a little bit about it,
Okay,
so the ladies know
beautiful.
what to get.
So the book is called Mirror, Mirror, a step-by-step guide to a life that loves you back. Doesn't that sound delicious?
Sounds amazing. You got me at mirror.
Yeah. It's a
I have a mirror in every room, or 2 or 3.
it's a digital download book, and it's also available on Amazon, but you get it for free from us. And it's set up sort of like winter, spring, summer, fall, but also there's tools in there to use. And so it's like the cycling of that death within us, or that quiet, to the rebirthing of who you are. It's really a beautiful book. It's not very long. It's like 68 pages, and there's photos in there and stuff. At least 4 or 5 of them, something like that, but really powerful tools. So when I was giving it before, like I am again now, it was downloaded since 2016 to 2020, 10,000 times.
Wow,
Yeah.
congratulations.
And I've been using it in groups. Yeah. And so this show will be in September sometime.
September 21st, yes.
Yeah. And while we're doing our interview, I'm going through the whole course again of this book. So over the summer. So it's really perfect. That's it's a beautiful gift. I think that you guys will like it. If you have questions, I answer questions for free. So just write me on my email and I'll answer your questions.
Yes, all the information will be below this video, so on a link. So thank you so much, Mia. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Thank
This was
you.
wonderful. Thank you. It was lovely.